Glow by Never Angeline North. Gardening, no hope for the future. Franz Kafka from his diaries. In the second part of my life, I am living in a graveyard made of the first part of my life. In the first part of my life, I did things. In the second part of my life, I do not. In between the first part of my life and the second part of my life, there was a third part of my life, and it demanded a lot from my body. It did not smell like seashells. It did not slip gently into the pool. The third part of my life was an event stretched across years. The third part of my life was not pressed successfully between the pages of a heavy book, except in the ways that it was. The third part of my life was made of bent birthday candles and felt like coffee grounds when chewed. It changed colors in water and would fall over if set on a desk or a table. I could sing about it. It could be fired from a gun or a job. It gasps when surfacing, and in the winters it shrinks down to the size of a single pin, heated to glow. The first part of my life briefly turned into a fourth part of my life before it became the third part of my life. This was the time when I knew you or thought I knew you. This was the time when you knew me. I'm pretty sure you knew me as I was in the fourth part of my life, which was an entire arm as I had wished to be in the first part of my life. The gap between how I wished to be in the first part of my life and how I was in the fourth part of my life is shaped like you, or the shape I thought I knew when I thought I knew you. This all felt like medicine, but tasted like the Perseids. So much of us was awash in the Perseids. I did not know that I wanted to be awash in the Perseids until you showed me what it was like to be awash in the Perseids, and then I very much longed to be awash in the Perseids, and suddenly I found myself awash in the Perseids. Thank you. The third and fourth parts of my life were not a graveyard of anything. The fourth part of my life held its breath with anticipation, and the third part of my life exhaled thick smoke with a bellow, a cough, a breath weapon. I never wanted to be a breath weapon until I was partially a breath weapon. I stopped wanting to be a breath weapon when I saw the dead lying in front of me, killed, dressed up like enemies, but with simple organs, still moving inside their bodies like hurt earthworms. In the second part of my life, my body is a pet, and in the third part of my life, it was a hunting knife, and in the fourth part of my life, it was a pin knife I used to carve a shape in a tree that looked like you or what I thought I knew of you. It is possible that what I thought I knew of you was you or is you, but only you can tell me if what I thought I knew of you was you or is you. Here's some things to help you decide. I thought you were awash in the Perseids like I was awash in the Perseids. I thought your body was a penknife like my body was a penknife, even though you told me over and over that I was wrong about that. I might have been wrong about your body being a penknife. I didn't think you were a bank teller, and I still don't think you're a bank teller, but you might be a different kind of teller. At that time I smelled like seashells. I may or may not have slipped gently into the pool. The fourth part of my life did not fall over if set on a desk or a table, and I cannot sing about it. The birthday candles it was made out of were not bent, and it changed colors in water, though the colors were different than the colors were in the third part of my life. I did not have a breath weapon, but I thought my body was a penknife. I don't know what part of my life the second part of my life was a graveyard of, but I think it is a graveyard of another part of my life. There is no part of my life when I was gardening. There is no time for a bath or a shower. I turned 38, I turned 39, I turned 40, but I don't know what I'm turning 40 of. Maybe seashells. I'll do more research on this and let you know what I'm turning 40 of. Okay, I'm back. It seems that turning 40 mostly involves your friends and family filling a room with graveyards that you can light on fire or release to God. They don't say what you are turning 40 of. I don't think it's seashells. I'm not gardening. I could be fired from a gun or a job. The second part of my life is a graveyard that I put in my mouth and light on fire so that I can release it to God. In the first part of my life, I said that poetry was like being alone on the moon with all your friends, but in the second part of my life, poetry is like being alone on the moon with what I think my friends are like. It is like being fired from a gun or a job to be released to God who is alone on the moon gardening. Doubt and mystery hold hands. They drink from the same glass. They are awash in the Perseids. In the second part of my life, there is such inertia and void as never before. It does not slip gently into the pool, just sits outside the wall, smelling the chlorine pushed from the vent, gently remembering. You could push through it with your fingers, but don't. I could push through it with my fingers, but don't. My body is no longer a penknife or a breath weapon. It does not come when called, does not slip gently, is not awash. There is no time for a bath or a shower. In the second part of my life, I do things. In the first part of my life, I did not. I refused to be alone on the moon with all my friends, or released to God who has none. The moon is a graveyard with no pool, no birthday candles, bent or otherwise. It is inertia and void, an entire arm. In the fifth part of my life, I will go away for winters, heated to glow.